Hello, friends, and welcome. This is episode 4 of Journey into Fandom Season 2, a podcast where I have guests on to discuss what fandoms and communities they are a part of, what their experience has been, what the memes are, and how toxic or wholesome it is. Before we get started, I gotta give my Patreon shout out to the Landy Lodge. Thank you so much, Landy, for supporting the show. I appreciate it tremendously, and I must apologize for forgetting to do my shout out since you actually became a patron. I'm really, really sorry. I'm your host, Karislan, and today on the show we had Jesse on to talk about Disney parks. We had a glorious time chatting about some of the ways people plan their Disney trips, and we shared a lot of fun stories of our own trips to Disney. Now, without any further ado, please join me on this journey into fandom. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Journey into Fandom. This is going to be episode 4 of season 2, and today on the show we have my friend Jesse. Hello!
Hello, everyone.
Hey, and we're going to be talking about Disney parks today, so I'm really hyped for this. So you were just telling me that you're starting your own podcast, and it will be out by the time this comes out,
Yes.
which is super exciting. Do you want to tell everybody what it's called again?
Yes, I'm one of the co hosts. I'm doing it with my niece, Sam, and we're going to be reviewing every episode of Steven Universe, which is a fantastic Cartoon Network show from the early 20 teens. And it's called The Off Color Gems. If anyone's a fan, you kind of get the reference to that. And yeah, I am a fan of many things, but I know a lot of just random facts about everything.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm really excited for this episode because I'm a big Disney fan. I'm a big Disney Parks fan, although I've only been to one Disney park in my life. So I'm excited to hear all about it, right? So this is like, I'm sure you're aware. You know the format. You know this
Yes,
the shtick, all right?
I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of you to say. I appreciate it so much. Um so for our listeners, if there's anyone listening who's like never been to a Disney park or know anything about the history of Disney parks, do you want to give us like a 2-minute summary of the topic? Are you ready for this?
Yes, I've been practicing.
You've been practicing. Oh my gosh. All right. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Walt Disney in 1930 took his children to a fair. And while his children were on a merry-go-round, he noticed that he was sitting on a bench, and with him was a bunch of other parents, either on newspapers, smoking, or just reading a book, not paying attention to their kids. And he thought to himself, there needs to be a place where kids and adults and anyone of any age can have fun. So in 1955, he actually bought a lot of farmland in Anaheim,
Okay.
and he just started building Disneyland. It
Mm-hmm.
opened up in July 15th of 1955, and it opened up to a ton of people, and ever since it's been a place called the happiest place on earth. And I honestly feel like everyone deserves to go to Disneyland at least once, because when you're there, you just kind of feel like you don't feel like a kid, you just feel happy. And
Mm-hmm.
being a fan of Disneyland, you can obviously say, oh yeah, there's some bad stuff about it, but when you're just there, you just kind of have these happy moments. And that if when you're a fan of something, you live for those moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. 100%.
And it doesn't just like it's not just Disneyland properties. They do try to hit every demographic and any type of thing that you enjoy, it's there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You do have 25 seconds left if you want to say anything else about that, but if
Um
not, we can move on.
25, well, pretty like 20 seconds at this point. Um, no, I think it's just a pure joy. It's what it is. I think I've told people before, theme parks either have enjoyment, but Disneyland has magic. They actually have real magic there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, amazing. That was so good. I love hearing just a short part about the history of Disneyland. So cool.
Mm,
I didn't know that story actually. That Walt Disney was like hanging out by a fair and was just like,
yeah,
"Hey, do you know what would be cool? A Disneyland where adults and children can do stuff together." And like from that point of view, it's actually quite innovative, right? There's so
yeah.
many innovations that come from Disneyland that we take for granted, and I think that's super interesting. Awesome. So everybody loves talking about Disney. If you've ever been to
Yeah.
Disney, I feel like it's like one of those things that you're like, oh, you have to get. I don't know. I've never met anybody that's like, oh yeah, I went to Disneyland and it sucked, or like it was okay.
There are
I
a
don't.
few, there are a few people that have the bad moments, but I think it's just that
Sure.
they're trying too hard on it. They
Right.
just have to
Right.
enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, not everybody likes theme parks in
Yeah.
general. So that's cool, but all the people that I know who've been to Disney are like, yes, like it's so good. And it's one of those really interesting things where like I never went as a child. And so I never had any like nostalgia of going as a kid or anything like that. The first time I went, I was 18, I think? Yeah,
Okay.
I think or I might have been 17 even. I was, like, I was either 17 or 18 the first time I went. Um, and I had no nostalgia for it, and I obviously went to the one in Paris because
Oh, that's nice.
that's the local Disneyland
They
to
have the
me.
best castles.
Yeah? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Out of all 4, they just have the best castles. I think they tried really hard to kind of hit the culture there, and I think there's a lovely documentary that I love watching, and maybe we'll talk about later, but they just went into the detail of like, "Well, this is where castles are. We should try our best to actually make a Disneyland castle here." And I think it
that's
looks
really
great.
cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I know. So that's the only one I've been to. I've been there twice. Just for like a day. To like the main park. I haven't been to any of the others, like Animal Kingdom or anything. But yeah, no, it was beautiful. I loved it. It was great. I had a fun time. So yeah, tell me about your Disney experience. Tell me about the first time you ever went to Disneyland and how you fell in love with it.
I again, funny enough, I've only went once as a kid, and
Mhm.
I think when I talk to people, you can kinda sense the, like, those childhood memories. And even with yourself, you mentioned that, you went when you're 18, but when you're just there, you just kinda feel a little bit, I don't know, kinda like youthified, I guess, kinda like, "Oh, wow, I feel better. I'm moving around more." And I honestly only was there for a day, like, maybe I was around 6 or 8, and I have more memories of Disneyland than I do the other park that my family took me, which was Universal Studios. And so that just kinda just adds to the weight of why I'm a fan of Disneyland because I went to another one, and I can't even remember that one. And then I have taken my niece about, like, 3 times already,
Mhm.
and each time we go, sadly, she doesn't like it too much.
Oh
'Cause
no.
the first time I took her, she was still, like, around, like, her early teens, and then she got sick. But I was like, "Do you wanna try it one more time?" And she goes, "Yeah." And then we went, and she had a fun time, but it was only sadly for a day. And
Right.
I'm gonna take her again probably by next year.
Okay.
And the thing that I tell people, and a lot of people go, "Well, I don't like rides or, I don't like to wait in line." Disneyland doesn't just do rides. You can go into the gift shops, you can go into like the dining area, and it's all just fantastic. I've mentioned to people before, it really is kind of like a clique in the fandom. Either you're a photographer, you love going around taking pictures of the characters or just the sceneries, or even around the holidays. Everything looks great. Either
Yeah.
you're a foodie, which you just love to go around, try all the new treats and everything. And what I tell people is that if you're on vacation, calories don't count. You can eat as much as
Exactly.
you want and you're fine. You'll walk it off.
Yes, yes. I'm going on vacation in like a few weeks, and it's like, yep, I'll eat whatever the heck I want, and that's it. Yep.
You'll be out and about. It's fine.
Yeah, sure.
Or you're a person who loves thrill rides, just kind of like, going on something really fast. I'm not in that camp. I believe that roller coasters are terrible. They should be all turned down. Not really. I'm sorry if I offended anyone. But, that's a thing too, even though I don't like rides, there are a lot of rides there that I go, "Oh, wow, this is kinda enjoyable." And then, even like, I think I'm in this camp too, which is, like, historians. When you go to Disneyland, I literally can point out every little thing and have a little story about it. There's a lovely entrance on both sides, and they have placards saying, "Once you walk through this, you're walking into a world of pure imagination and fantasy." And there's a bunch of posters nearby, so you're actually walking into a show. So
Mm.
Disneyland in itself is, they're trying their best to entertain you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I think that it's really interesting actually hearing your perspective on that because it wasn't until we'll probably talk about this later on, but um it wasn't until I started watching like a few Jenny Nicholson videos where she talks about Disneyland and she'll
Yeah,
talk
she's
about
great.
like yeah, she's so good. And she'll talk about like the food and she'll talk about like random little things that like are just there and just like exist. She's got this really funny video. I'm sure you've seen it. I've seen it like 5 times cuz I think it's hilarious. It's like the top 7 or top 10 or something like lame things to do at Disneyland. And
Yeah,
it's just like these random things that she like picks out and it's like, that's just amazing that that exists. Like she talks about the people mover, which is like just like like a monorail thing that you could just go on.
goes
And
about 2 miles an hour.
yeah, yeah. She's like, yeah, one day I went on it like all day and it was great and I loved it. And like it's just little things like that where until you've been there, you don't really understand, but it's just like being in that environment in the first place. Like blows your mind. Like just wandering around and just taking in like the sights and the sensations and like trying the food and like this, that, and the other. Like that's what makes Disneyland for me. Like it's not the fact that there are rides, although I am a big fan of Big Thunder Mountain. It's awesome. But to me, even if that wasn't there, like I could still just go and have a good time. And there's lots of stuff to do. You don't have to be a thrill person or whatever, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and they're trying their best there. You mentioned just the atmosphere and the fact that they play specific music when you're entering the land. And
Mhm.
I just love that. I go, "I love this song," or they're playing this song because either you're in Fantasyland or you go to, like, Frontierland, they have, like, kinda all this great, like, cowboy music. And again, as a Disneyland fan person, you have to pick a land that is your favorite one. Mine is Tomorrowland because I
Okay.
just all the love the futuristic parts and just kinda like the setting and everything, even the backstory, because every land has a backstory. And it has my favorite ride of all time, which I would love to you said Big Thunder Mountain, which is also a good one, but Autopia is my favorite ride of all time.
Okay.
Yeah, which is
I
just a
don't
little it's a little motor car, you just drive it. You don't bump into anyone, it doesn't go that fast, but I just love the fact that you're driving this little car, you're going through this scenery, and it's just I can go on it for days.
awesome. Yeah, um I have a really fun memory of I don't think I've been on that before, but the last time I went to Disneyland, I went with my sister actually, and we were sitting we walked past like this Coco themed restaurant in Frontierland. We're like, oh yeah, we gotta come back here later on,
Oh,
like for
nice.
dinner. Yeah, it was great, and they did like fajitas and stuff. So yeah, we were eating this like fake Mexican food, but it was good. Um, and I was watching the. We were sitting like next to the window, so we could see Big Thunder Mountain like right outside. We could see the line for it, and I was watching the little thing that tells you how long the line is, and it got
Mhm.
down to 5 minutes, and I was like, and we'd finished eating by this point, and we were just sitting chilling because we had been on our feet all day. And I was like, Beth, the line's only 5 minutes long. Like, let's get back on it. Like, let's go on it one more time. And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, come on. Like, the line's only 5 minutes. Like, let's do it. And then I dragged her onto it and we loved it. Had such a good time. And then afterwards, she was like, Karis, I'm glad you made me go on that again because because we loved it.
Even after eating the fajitas, that didn't
Yes.
end up badly?
No, it was fine. We
Good,
we were okay. Um
glad.
yeah. So that's my funny Big Thunder Mountain story. So when did you get involved in the fandom? You've kind of mentioned it a little bit. That.
Yeah, I didn't actually know there was a Disneyland fandom for a while. I just kept on going, and then I guess when I start planning a trip, I go on either YouTube or just websites, and I noticed, oh my god, everyone has like all these different tips and tricks, and like when I go, I only go for maybe like 1 or 2 days, and
Mhm.
there's people out there that go for a whole week, which is great. I think I would love to do that, but I just get tired of it, or just kind of like just go, oh, I did everything because I plan everything really really well. But the the fact that everyone has like inside information or just something to say about something is great. And when I went, I saw some videos on YouTube of just vloggers, and that led me into like their Instagram account, and then that led me into like a bunch of other people who are going to Disneyland and trying these foods or trying these rides and just giving their perspective or their opinions. And I go, oh my god, like this is a whole culture here.
Yeah, and that's a really good word for it, like a culture, because um I found a Disneyland podcast not that long ago. I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's called Disneyland After Dark.
Oh
And
wow.
what's interesting about it is it's a bunch of British people talking about Disneyland. So it's an interesting perspective. Um, but yeah, like they have all these like tips and tricks and like and like routines, and they're like, yeah, we go to Disney every year, and when we go, we always do this, this, and this, and this. Whereas someone like me who's only been twice in my life, I'll go and I'll just wander about and see what there is to see and kind of things. But then you've got other people that are like, nah, we got to do all this, and they have like a checklist of all these things that they like have to do when they get there. Um, and people that, yeah, that plan their entire vacation around Disneyland, like I think I would agree with you that I could only go for 1 or 2 days at a time. Like for me to go for a whole week, I think that would take the magic out of it for me a little bit.
Yeah,
Like I would never want to stay at one of the Disney hotels necessarily. Like
same.
I think that would be fun, but I'm also like, well, first of all, it's so expensive. But also like, if I'm going to Paris, I want to see more than just
Yeah.
Disney. You know what I
I
mean? It's
I'm here for the park, I'm not here for the hotel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But if people want to spend all that money and do that and have their experience like good for them, that's great. And but I think that's a good thing about Disney is you can make as much or as little of it as you want,
Mhm.
and it's really up to yourself and your own experience.
Yeah, it's
And what makes a good vacation for you? Yeah.
yeah, it's personalizing your experience and your trip, and honestly, I feel like you just have so many options. Like, the people who spend there a week, yeah, they can definitely do pretty much everything within a couple days, but then they can either find something they wanna do again, and for myself, the last time I went, was with one of my coworkers, my friend Tim. Hey, Tim, he's probably listening. I'll make him listen. But,
Hey, Tim.
basically, I planned every single thing, and I was able to get us on all the rides we had a list for, and just the walking around bits were like the last hour of our trip. And honestly, it's doable. Like, Disney does their best by kind of moving in herds or just kind of keeping everything maintained. And if we're talking about like the bad stuff for the fandom, yes, there's bad experiences where, oh, we didn't go on this ride, or this thing was broken, or just we couldn't do this on our list. I understand that, and that's terrible. But ideally, you kind of have to lower expectations, very very low. You kind of have to
Yes.
tell yourself, whatever I can do today, I'll be happy to do it.
Yeah. I think that's really true. And I think you get the most out of it if you don't have like a hard and fast checklist, maybe, in my
Hmm.
opinion. If you're there just to enjoy it, right? Because I think that's like some of the stress for me when I go on vacation is like to feel like, oh, I gotta do all this. Because like I'm a tourist, I'm only here for this short amount of time. Like I have to feel like I cram everything in. But sometimes that's just stressful. And sometimes you can just take a step back and be like, you know what, I'm here to have a good time and enjoy it. So yeah.
There you go, and that's the main thing about fandoms or anything that you like. As long as you enjoy it. There's a bit of a meme going around everywhere, either websites or just Instagram. They go, you're an adult and you like Disneyland, you know that's for kids, right? They go, I like what I like.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and I would argue that adults can sometimes get more out of Disneyland than children,
Yeah.
um, or just as much anyway. But it's like a different thing, right? It's
Mhm.
more like you're there for to experience a form of like nostalgia rather than like, oh, I'm a kid and I'm just here to hang out with Mickey Mouse or whatever. So I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. I don't
No,
really
I
know what I'm
agree. I
saying.
agree with you. No, honestly, because when again, if I can say the bad stuff about Disneyland too, and yeah, people can kind of say, "Oh, it's expensive," or just you're there for the whole day and you get tired, or just there's too many people. Yeah, because it's busy. Like honestly, there's gonna be a ton of people, and we're all gonna try to, you know, have fun. One of the
Yeah.
things that I think about the fandom, and not just necessarily the fandom, but just Disney in general, is a lot of people feel entitled. And, they can go and say, I'm spending X amount of dollars and I'm only here for this amount of time and I want to do this. Completely agree with you. You should totally get to do that. But there's other people that either spending more, less, and they're in front of you. So a lot of times I think
Right.
we should just kind of, it's like entering someone's house. You're a guest, you should be polite, and they're trying their best to help everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and because this is like unlike other fandoms, really, where like at Disneyland you're interacting with other people all the time, like
Hmm.
whether um whether you kind of like it or not. It's like, there's the staff that work there, there's the other people in the line, your actions affect those people around you directly. It's not like you're behind a screen and send someone a nasty message and like, yeah, like it might, that, trolling people in that way is not, it's abhorrent, but, but it
Yeah,
also
I
in real
agree.
life. And, because one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is, so one of the because I was listening to a podcast about it. There's a gentleman on talking about his wife and talking about the fact that they both are have really bad like health things, and so they're like classed as disabled, right? So for that reason, they're always allowed to get to like the front of the line, because they're disabled. But then there's other people that complain about that. It's like, come on, like you're not the only people here. um, yeah, I just think that's gross, but yeah, so we're kind of moving on to the discourse. So, we've kind of already been talking about that. Like, what's some of the other discourse that goes around in the fandom?
Oh, honestly, I think right now, as time I was recording, the new CEO of Disney, I think his name's Bob Chick or something like that. I don't delve too much into like the bad stuff that's going on in the company,
Mm,
but he is kind of, I wouldn't say money grubbing. The one thing that I tell people that Disneyland as a company that they're really good at doing is making money. So
yeah.
after Bob Iger stepped down, which is the former CEO of Disney, the new guy kind of started releasing these different apps or payment options for the parks. And originally, you're given two chances per day to get on two of the most popular rides, which is a Star Wars ride and a Spider-Man ride. And now you have to pay just to go onto the ride.
Oh
And
my
I go,
gosh.
"Ugh, that would kind of be nice. I don't mind chilling a couple bucks here and there, but if you're taking a big family, if there's a family of six and it's $20 or $15 per person, it adds up. And
Right.
we're talking about
Yeah.
experiences. We're talking about, I want to be able to do this ride that I see all the posters of these videos for. And I'm like, okay, well, I get it. You already have your ticket, and they're allowed to charge whatever they like for anything else inside the park. But then you go, oh, okay, well, there's probably people out there that are going, well, we only had enough money for the park and the stuff that we want to do, the ride. We have to put on the we can't do list, which again, it's kind of sucks. But it's a company. They can't try to, you know, keep things under budget while maintaining so many people.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Um I mean, I know that for myself, if I was there, I would just be like, "Nah, no chance. I'm not going on there. I'm not gonna pay that money."
Yeah.
Because I don't care about that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, like I want to try and do as much as I can do, but I just won't. I just I'll just go and do all the stuff I can do for free. But yeah, no, it sucks for people, kids as well who are like really looking forward to going on this thing and then they can't because they can't afford it. That's a bummer. So, but yeah.
Oh, there's more. I think there's more to Disney that I'm like, I don't put my full support into anything. I know no one's perfect. No one on this, you know, godly earth is perfect. I think that if we try to, put our support into something, we put into the support that we agree with or that we know does good. And for me, I can say, well, Disney, sometimes they underpay their cast members, or sometimes they do things that are like a little like, oh, you didn't have to do that. And even Jenny Nicholson has a lot of inside information because she worked for the Disneyland park for a while, and she still talks to a lot of her coworkers there. And I guess originally for the Star Wars land, they were going to have these animatronic characters walking around,
Mhm.
and just kind of these characters that oh yeah, it's a robot or a C-3PO or something. They're not allowed to do that anymore because there's a puppet union in Anaheim, and since Disneyland doesn't really allow unions, they're not allowed to work at the parks.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
something I'm like, I've been to the Star Wars land and it's great. It's very immersive, but it does feel a little hollow. It does feel like not a lot here, character wise, compared to the other
Mm.
lands. And
Yeah.
when I heard that, I go, oh, that explains it. And again, devil's advocate or just hearing both sides, Disneyland did release a statement saying the only reason we're not hiring a lot of puppeteers nowadays is because that'll bring in too many crowds to smaller areas of the park. So they try to kind of keep everyone moving to where they want to go. So if there's a character, everyone kind of swarms to that character.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, that's really disappointing though. And that's a really sucky reason. Like, oh yeah, we're not gonna get these people because they're a union. Like, mm, kind of sus, Disney. Kind of
Yeah.
sus. And I have seen some really unfortunate videos about Disney cast members that have had really horrible experiences working there.
Yeah.
And that really stinks. Like, yeah, it's gotta suck. Really, day in day out, gotta have a happy face and meet all these kids and take pictures and all that stuff. Like, I'm sure it's fun for a while, but I'm sure after a while, if it's your job.
That's why I
uh,
try so hard when I tell people if they're going to Disneyland, be so kind to the cast members. If someone says hi to
yeah,
you, give them a smile, give them a wave. And if someone's really nice to you, or you just feel like, oh, this person made my day a little bit better, during the main entrance in City Hall, you can always go, oh, hey, this so and so cast member made me feel great or helped me out. I like to give them a compliment. And that helps them out a lot. And, I think that I guess my first job was in the service industry, straight out of college. I go, okay, well, I'm talking to people and I'm doing all this, and I go, oh, some people are having a really bad day and they want to pass it on to somebody else. That sucks, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to kind of, try to be nice to everyone. And if someone's not nice, then good luck to you. But, we're just going to move on and find some nicer people.
bro. I tell people this all the time. Well, you're one of the nicest people that I know because you are just kind to everybody. Like, I love that about you. I'll be real right now. And as someone who, again, I've worked retail, I got to quit my job 3 weeks ago. Hallelujah.
Congrats. Yay.
Praise Jesus. We're so
Praise him.
happy right now. Yes. Um, but no, like, yeah,
It,
treat people with respect, please. Whether it's retail, whether it's in the service industry, whether it's
yeah.
people that work at Disneyland, like they are people. They're not paid enough to deal with your crap, you know.
Yeah, it's a human thing, we're not in this against anyone. And yeah, the cast members at Disneyland have families that are just tired, and I've seen them. I'm walking around the park and I'm seeing these parents slugging these bags, and kids are energetic. If I ever have kids and I take them to Disneyland, because I do believe every kid deserves to go to Disneyland at least once.
Yeah.
And if I go and they're kind of like a little rambunctious or just kind of, energetic, and I don't match that energy, I know that it's going to be an experience for them. So I'm not going to have like high hopes that, oh, they're going to be polite or they're going to have their manners. I'm just going to have to teach them, well, we're here, we have to wait in line, and we're going to get to our destination as soon as we can. And they're not going to understand why, but that's why we're there. That's why we teach them, right? Because if
Yeah.
not, they grow up and they're like, why do I have to be in line? Well, I paid for this. I can just go in front of the line. I don't need this. Like, no, you do, because other people are like you. They paid. They have to wait in line too.
Yep. Yep. 100%. Yeah. So, be kind to people at Disney. Be kind to people anyways. Yeah, for sure. Um, is there any other fandom discourse you wanted to chat about just now? Anything else? Any other hot potatoes
I
going on
I
in the
kind of want
community?
to say a good thing about Disney. I don't want to
Oh,
say too
sure.
many bad things.
We'll talk about whatever
Yeah,
you want to talk about for real. Yeah,
yeah.
please
There's
let me
there's
know.
more, but honestly, we focus and we try to do the good. I've met some
Mm.
lovely people at Disneyland. My friend Linda, hi Linda. Hopefully, I get to send this to you. Her and her family were so nice. I remember I took my mom, my brother, his wife, and his two kids back in 2018 for the holiday bash, like around October, and we're just trying to find a nice spot to watch the light parade and everything. And I found some nice
Mm.
benches. I sat my mom down. My brother, who's kind of the opposite of me, he doesn't really plan anything. He got lost at Disneyland, so I go, "We're here." He's like, "I don't know where that is. Just find a spot and watch the parade. I'll track you down later," because it was already too late. And right next to us, this lovely family. And I started talking to this lady, and we started just chatting about how her day was going, how my day was going, what rides we were doing. The husband,
Mm.
walked up and told me, "Oh, you have to be careful with this one. She'll steal your wallet." And I go, "Oh no, I have it right here." And just that nice little banter back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And then I started talking to her kids, and then her kids are great because her son was working at Anaheim at the time, and I just had like a little introduction, or I was welcomed to the family so quickly.
Oh, that's so
And it
nice.
was through Disney. It was through a fandom. And you meet
Mm.
some nice people that you have a connection with, and you just go, I'm this is an extra bit of why I love being in this fandom, because I get to meet these people.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, and I think that in a place like Disney, it kind of fosters a sort of community atmosphere, I feel like, because everybody's there. Everybody's like, hopefully having a good time, trying to
Yes.
have a good time, and I feel like it's easier in that kind of environment to like maybe talk to people that you wouldn't normally talk to rather. No, that's really cool. It's really fun to be able to meet people at a place like that. So I'm glad you had that experience. And hello, Linda. How are you
Yes.
doing? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Oh,
Yeah.
fun.
Again, I have stories. I have even like a story that I have a picture here on my desk of my sister and my niece and I. One of the last times we went to Disney, and we're smiling. Backstory of that picture: we were given a free like picture voucher through our trip, and
Right.
my sister was like, "Oh yeah, we'll get it later." And me being the empire, I'm like, "We should get it now." I'm like, "No, we'll get it later." It's close to closing. There are practically no more photographers out there. And I go, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" We find one. We're already kind of like on our ends. And I love my sister. I love my niece. But we're just like, I don't want to talk to these guys anymore for a while. And then we just take the picture, and then we both walk the opposite way. And when I look at that picture, it's not a picture of like, oh, yeah, I remember that bad moment. No, I remember, oh, yeah, that was a pretty funny moment. And I'm glad I have this picture to remember it.
Yeah. That's fun.
So even if like you have a bad moment there, you can kind of go, well, it's been long enough, and you know what, it was kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I think um you don't have to let like bad memories of something like oh, that ruined that forever. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, I think that's important actually to be able to like separate those things in your mind. Like, okay, yeah, maybe we were stressed at this moment. But that doesn't mean that this whole trip sucked, right? So no, that's fun. That's a cool memory, I feel like. Or it's cool to be able to look back and say, yeah, that happened, but it's okay. And now we can laugh about it. So
Do you have any more from your trip? I would love to hear if, like, because you were there for 2 days, is there something like, "Oh, I found this nice little spot?" Because even just walking around Disneyland, you can kinda go, "Oh, wow, I didn't know they had this."
Um, yeah, so one of the things we did the first time I went actually, it was so long ago. I can't really remember that much about it to be honest with you. I feel like we just went on like a few rides, we had some food and stuff like that, we watched the um the fireworks and stuff at the end and everything. But the more recent trip, me and my sister, we just like well, I think what had happened, like I think the first time I went, because I went with my friend Carrie, who it was so much fun, we had a great time. But she'd been a lot of times before. She'd been many times as a kid because her parents, so she's from America, but they were missionaries in France.
Oh, wow.
So she like grew up in Paris and stuff. Yeah, so like one summer they had one of those like annual pass things and they just went like every weekend to Disney. So she kind of had like a more of like a, okay, we want to do this and this sort of approach to it, right? Because she'd been there so much. So she kind of knew what was going on. But then when I went with my sister, I had only been one time before and she'd never been before. So we kind of had a different approach where we were like, we're just going to go and have fun. We don't really have an agenda. I was like, yeah, like I want to go on Big Thunder Mountain. I want to go on It's a Small World. I didn't actually get around to it the second time, sadly. But I was just like, those are like the two things I want to do. And apart from that, like we'll just go and have a fun time. And I remember getting there and we got there just as the parade was starting, at the, like, at the front of the park, just as we arrived, and it was like, "Yes, like, we're here now, we can just have banter," and we, like, were singing along and dancing along to the song,
I
and,
do
like, we
that
had
all the time.
yes, and we, like, walked up, like, with the parade, to the center, and the year we went, it was, the song was "I am a princess, I am a pirate," and it was great, and, like, part of it was in French, and we just had such fun, just doing that, and then we we waited in line to meet one of the princesses, actually. So we met Aurora, and
Oh, great.
yeah, that was beautiful actually. We were in line for like, I don't know, 2 hours or something. Or maybe like an hour and a half. It was like quite a long time. And it's really funny because when we got there, we were like so nervous. We were like, yeah, we're gonna meet a Disney princess. Like, what do we do? And so she was like, oh, like, how should we stand for the picture? We were like, I don't know. And then she said, why don't you just do what I'm doing? And she kind of like put her hands together. So we kind of both did that. So we have this really weird picture of me and my sister and Aurora just standing there like with our hands together, like kind of like we're praying, but like to the side.
Ah.
Just because we didn't know what to do, so we just copied her. We're like, this is a really goofy picture, but it was just really funny. So no, that was fun too. And I can't remember what else. Oh, I already told you about when we got on Big Thunder Mountain when the line was 5 minutes long. That was good.
Yeah.
Um, we met Jesse just as we were walking around Frontierland.
That's where we met.
Um, yeah, we also met Darth Vader. Um, that was fun. I think we saw the Queen of Hearts. We actually saw like a lot of characters the time that we went, just walking around the park. Yeah, so it was good. And one of the really fun things I did, you mentioned the castle, was yeah, just like to walk around inside the castle and just look at it. Like that's fun to do. If you're in Disneyland Paris, just look at the castle. Just spend like half an hour just walking around it. It's great.
The detail they put in everything is just amazing, and they don't call them builders or just designers, they're called Imagineers because they're literally imagining something and they're bringing it to life.
Mm.
And I remember there's that on Disney Plus, there's a documentary called The Imagineering Story. And in
Mm-hmm.
the episode where they talk about Disneyland Paris, they go into detail of like, oh, we have these like old pictures of, French castles, and we're trying to modernize or just kind of have our own take on them. And, we're trying to, you know, be respectful for the culture and just having everything, feel like this is home when we put this here.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I think that's what's amazing about Disneyland, and I don't even think that we might not even have mentioned that, but it's how it's not just, the cast members walking around, but it's the music and it's the design of every single building, how they're all different. It's how all the gift shops are designed. Like, it's how all the food places are designed. Like, everything. There's thought put into every little thing, right? Even
Yeah.
like all the signs and stuff, like showing you where to go. Um, it's yeah, it's incredible.
They used to do this. It said that they don't do it anymore, but when you walk to a specific part that sells food, they used to kind of air out the smell of that food, or even kind of like, oh, you're in New Orleans, so they would put out the smell of like New Orleans cooking, and it's just this whole thing of just like that's a layer of like, oh my god, it actually does feel like you're here in this, different part of this land. And
Mm.
I think even Walt, he and most people who are fans of Walt Disney or the park or anything, they call Walt Disney instead of say calling Walt instead of Walt Disney his full name. But Walt basically he wanted everyone to feel like when you're in the land, you're there. You should feel so immersed. So he didn't want a lot of like different characters jumping from land to land. So there's these like kind of secret tunnels or secret buildings that connect all through the land, and it just really is true because when you're in Frontierland, which is one of my favorite, when you're walking down, they actually in the concrete they pave in horse prints and then even wagon wheels on the ground. So there's detail to that level. And
Yeah, it's
even
amazing.
I when I went to Star Wars Land, you're going through a tunnel, and halfway through the tunnel, it's actually carved through like if it was carved through with lasers.
That's so cool.
And I'm just looking at all this, I'm like, "This is just great," and it just the detail and the fact that you actually feel subconsciously that you're in a different place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so amazing. Um and I think that, before I'd never like the only theme parks I'd ever been to were like, Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which is, it's like just roller coasters
Mhm.
and then like little kiddie rides. Like there's none of this like theming involved at all, which I think is what is so interesting about Disney and how they're really, and I think it's fascinating how people it still connects with people, right? Even adults, even kids, like everybody likes Disney, or a lot of people like Disney.
Yeah. Or they can find something
uh,
to like, the food, even I think
yes.
talking about how deep the fandom goes, there's even, like, a video called "The Top 10 Bathrooms in Disney." Even their bathrooms are themed, and I was
Yes.
like, "Oh, yeah, I never noticed that."
Hmm. Have you got any other stories about Disney that you want to share about your experiences at all?
I have this one.
Hmm.
I mentioned my friend Tim because that was one of the last times we went. I'm not trying to embarrass him. It was just for me, I really enjoyed what happened. So when we went on our second day, we went to California Adventure, and they have the Marvel Land there. We were full on dressed up as Loki variants. I had my TVA jacket
Nice.
and even the tie. He was kind of like a slum version of it. And he just had a shirt and the jacket. And I kid you not, everyone thought we worked there. And he was a little nervous, and I kind of took the lead. I kind of let him stand back because I'm okay with talking to people. And every question someone has, like, "Oh, where's the bathroom?" or "When does the show start?" I kind of had it in my head pretty quickly. I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's there and here and there." And then there was this one guy who was like, "Do you know where this is at?" I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't." And he goes, "Don't you work here?" I was like, "No." Like, "But you're dressed up." It's like, "Yeah, 'cause I'm at Disneyland. I want to have fun." And that's the thing too. Like, people usually kind of have the chance to be a character that they like, or even kind of have like a outfit inspired by a character.
Right.
And they
Yeah,
even
I kind of did that when we went as well.
oh, what character were you?
Well, it was a Rey inspired outfit. Uh,
Cool.
n- yeah, by that I mean I had like buns and I was wearing a Star Wars shirt. That was it. Like it
I think she
wasn't.
wore that in the movies. I remember that scene.
Oh yeah, I can send you a picture actually. It's me in front of I found this Tinkerbell statue and I was like,
Yeah.
Beth, you have to take a picture of me because I love Tinkerbell so much. I mean, you can't even really see what my hair looks like because it's like, from the front, but anyways. So, no, so I did that and then my sister was wearing like a Frozen kind of dress, like a sort of blue Elsa looking dress.
Yeah.
When we went. So, yeah, that I didn't really look anything like her, but it was just a vaguely Star Wars outfit.
But it adds to your enjoyment and adds to, like, kind of just being there, right? Because it just
Yes.
I'm this character. I'm in the land. I'm part of the magic.
Right. Yeah, no. And I think some people that's like a big part of the community as well. If people like do full on cosplay as well, which I think is really cool at
Yeah.
Disney. Um no, so that was a fun that was a fun thing. And I was so excited when I found Tinkerbell because I love Tinkerbell. And I was like, Beth, like you need to take a picture of me. And it was funny because she took this picture of me in front of Tinkerbell, which is a good picture, but then she wanted me to take a picture of her in front of the castle. So I did that, and I like framed it so you could get the whole so she was in the picture, you could get the whole castle in the picture. Like it was a really good photo. And then and then I was like, okay, you need to take one of me now. So she took a picture of me in front of the castle. But she just framed it really badly. It's like you
Mhm.
can see mostly like the ground and then me and not the top of the castle. I'm like, Beth, like I took a really good picture of you and you took this. This is so bad. And she was like, oh, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was like, come on.
You gotta go there again and get that picture.
I need to go there again. But no, I'm happy I've got this Tinkerbell photo. So that's like, I can die happy now I've got that. But yeah,
You got
I
the
should
meters
go.
too, that's great.
Yeah, I should go back and get a different one. But no, it's just one of those funny things that happened.
Yeah.
And that's like another thing that will happen is, people will come up and be like, "Oh, can you take a picture of us and stuff together?" And you're just like, "Yeah, of course." Um, no, but that's so funny. I can't believe that people thought that you guys worked at Disney.
I would love to work at Disney. If I love my current job. I'm just like, "Oh, that would be a nice little, like, weekend job."
Yeah, side hustle. Why not?
Yeah, not for a while. Because then, again, even Jenny Nicholson has said, "Yeah, most people there are like, oh, yeah, I love working here for the first week,' and there's like, "Oh, no." But there's some people that love it, and you just can't put too much effort into, like, trying to make it special every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for real. Um, are there other creators that you follow to do with Disney? So we've mentioned Jenny Nicholson, who's great, and you should check her out. But anybody else, whether they're like YouTubers or artists or anybody.
Definitely, if anyone is listening to, like, trying to get into the fandom, honestly, just kinda go on YouTube and just look up, like, Disneyland vlogs. There's tons of creators either with, like, high subscriber counts or just kinda, like, with a couple, and they all just do great jobs. I do have one. I'm trying to I don't know the top of their names. Funny enough, with a coworker of mine, Nolan, again, I'll also get him to listen to this. Hi, Nolan. We talk about, like, all these different, creators, but we don't know their names. We just go, "Oh, yeah, that one couple or and that guy with the bow tie." It's them. But I follow Magical Journeys, which is a lovely couple that go to Disneyland and Disney World, and they try to go overseas to the other parks, but they just kind of just review the food and just kind of they give you updates on everything that's happening in the park. And again, I don't have any trips planned coming up within like a couple weeks, but I can
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, if you're a fan of Disneyland, you have the Disneyland app on your phone always. Like, you'll never uninstall it. Like, I have it right here. And you mentioned you were scouting like ride times. I do that sometimes too. I'm like, oh, look at that. There's a 5 minute wait for Autopia. Wish I was there.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah. But no, just going on Instagram, looking up kind of like just, traveling guides or something, and you'll definitely find some groups that are pretty great.
Yeah, that's really cool. And there's a lot of podcasts as well. There's people like Defunct Land as well, that talks about the history of Disneyland and other parks and like theme parks in general. I don't know if you've come across him before, Kevin Perjurer, but if you haven't, you you need to check out Defunct
I
Land.
definitely will. I've listened to his Jenny Nicholson episodes. Yeah,
Yeah, oh, he's
and some
amazing.
of his YouTube channels. Now that I'm remembering, YouTube videos. Now that I'm remembering.
Yeah, he just goes into like the history and like he talks about like the architecture and how things were built and like all that sort of stuff. It's really fascinating. Yeah, we love him too. Um, what do you think about how the fandom reacts to newcomers? Do you think there's like gatekeeping in the Disneyland fandom?
Um,
Is that a thing that exists?
I think depends on how like diehard a fan you are. Like I will
Right.
totally help anyone out. Like if someone says I'm going to Disneyland, any tips? I will give you every tip that I know. And even like walking around the park, I remember just talking to my friend and going, "Oh, we have to do this specifically because then we can kind of work our way down the park and everything." And this lovely lady, as she was walking, she goes, "Listen to your friend. He knows exactly what he's doing." And that's just kind of like, "Oh yeah, we know we'll share our tips. Like we'll tell people if you're going with the kids, you need to do this. If you're going by yourself, make sure to go through this line because then you don't have to, you know, be checked out." But I think that with fandoms, as long as you kind of like, I want them to have a fun experience too, then we'll welcome anyone. And
Hmm.
I think if anything with theme parks, you go, oh yeah, they'll find something they like. So as long as someone has something like they have in mind while they go to Disneyland, then we'll push them in the right direction.
That's really helpful. Because I find sometimes that going to places like Disneyland, like if I was going on my own, I think that would be overwhelming. I would be like, I don't even know where to start. Like it's so big. What do I do first? You know? So it's really cool that there are these guides and there's people that want to help you have the best experience that you can. That's great. Um, yeah. And if I was ever going, I would totally ask you, be like, Jesse, help me out, buddy. What should I do next?
Well,
um, mm-hmm.
we don't have time. I'll keep you talking for hours, but I'll give you tips, especially if you're going. I think you would have fun going with someone. I think definitely try to like either go in a big group, because if you go by yourself, then you're just kind of going, okay, well, I don't have a time frame. I'll go on the rides that I like. I'll find something to eat, and that's it. And I know a few people that have done solo trips to Disneyland, but I feel like it's out, walking around, talking to people, or just creating memories. It sounds fun.
Yeah, no, I don't think I ever would go on my own. I think I would at least go with one other person. Um, but I think sometimes it's better to go with multiple people because yeah, like if you're in a bigger group, you don't have to drag the person around to like that they don't want to go on, or like you don't have to go to places they want to go. Like you can like split off maybe and then like regroup later or that sort of thing. Which I think can be helpful. Um, if I ever make it out west to California, we'll have to go to Disney
We'll
together.
have to.
Th-
Yes.
That would be the dream, buddy. I would love that so much.
I'll make sure we go on all the rides. Well, the rides that you want to go to. I'll be on the ground, making sure I'm not on any roller coasters.
Can
And
hold the bags.
yes, I've told people before. I've told my coworker who always tells me, "Oh, the roller coasters are fine." The thing is, I buy things, so I have to hold on to the bags. So I make sure that they're fine. But
Yeah.
no, but definitely, I'll try to like make a nice little itinerary and then just kind of have a good experience.
That'd be so much fun. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about to do with Disneyland? I've still got time. Got
Yeah,
any more stories?
I got time too. Let's see. Well, there's that one with people who thought I worked there. Oh, I think one thing, well, a little bit of a discord, just to add to it. I talk about this a lot with people. The Disneyland that I've been to, the one in Anaheim, is too small. And the
Right.
reason I say that is because they're trying to expand, they're trying to add more rides, but they have no room. Either they're demolishing like storage buildings behind the park, or they're getting rid of even like employee parking, which is another, oh, Disney, why did you have to do that? And I'm thinking some rides have to go. Disneyland purists, and I know a few of them that go, oh, they got rid of the Tower of Terror and they made it into a Guardians of the Galaxy ride. How dare they? I
Mm-hmm.
love Tower of the Terror. Again, just it being an elevator that goes up and down really quickly. But the reason they had to get rid of it is because Tower of Terror, the Twilight Zone, that is a property that is decades old. And that's not a bad thing. It's just more of like there's properties out there, or movies or franchises, whatever, that deserve to be put in the spotlight. And Guardians of the
Yes.
Galaxy, the fact that there's so much passion and it's a great franchise and movie, I think that it deserves its own ride.
Mm-hmm.
So when a ride itself goes, obsolete or just abandoned, or they don't take care of it anymore, it should be replaced by something else. Recently, there's a Splash Mountain, which is a Song of the South based ride, which is a movie that kind of Disney doesn't really talk about because it's about
Yeah, it's a
slavery.
little outdated,
They're
let's be
like,
real.
well, they're, it was of the time. That's what people say, right?
Yeah, of
But
course.
people were a little upset that they made it into a Princess and the Frog ride. And I go, it's fine because that movie deserves its own ride. And yes, Splash Mountain having those characters and even having that song, Yippity Doo Dah, Yippity Day, I love to hear it, but I also love Princess and the Frog. So that deserves a ride. And,
Mm-hmm.
Disneyland in like, their 100 years anniversary is coming up in, I think, 2055, and I can guarantee you I'm going to spend a whole week there. So I have
Awesome.
that planned out because I'm already planning for that. But
Yes.
in by that time, dozens of rides will be taken away. Dozens of rides will be added, or just they should just add like a second story to Disneyland, honestly. But it'll look different, and it's not that they're going to just like forget about it. There's remnants of a lot of old rides in the new rides. They keep something from the old ride just to kind of honor the fact that it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think, like, Disney are never gonna do the same thing over and over. Like, well, I say that. I mean, we're in a time where every movie's getting a reboot or,
Yeah.
a remake and so on. But, like, in terms of the parks, like, because, yeah, of course, there are people like yourself or like other people that go like regularly. And so they can't just have the same stuff like forever. Like, they gotta switch it up every now and again. So it makes sense that, some people are gonna be sad because, oh no, they took away my favorite thing, but that'll become someone else's favorite
I
thing in the
completely
future.
agree.
So, yeah. But I mean, people are allowed to be upset, I guess, or, be disappointed as long as you don't, stop other people from enjoying it, I think is my take on
Yeah.
that.
It's everyone's park. It's not one specific person's park. Even I think
Absolutely.
Walt even said that in his opening speech that this is a land for everyone.
Mm. Yeah, we haven't even talked about like the different kinds of like the different places within Disney. So like Epcot or all the other like Animal Kingdom or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cause I've never been to any of those. I've only ever been to like the main park. What do you think about the rest? Have you been
Oh,
to any of the other places?
I've only been to Disneyland in Anaheim, California. It's my home state, but I can guarantee you I've watched dozens of walkthrough videos of every other park, even the Paris one, and they just look. Oh my god, I would love to do that, or I have that in mind to do. And
Mm.
with Disney World, it really is. It's huge. That's another thing that Walt Disney did, where he bought land that was kind of worthless, and for for that reason, he was able to put like a lot more effort into the parks. Um,
Mm.
and with Anaheim, that was just farmland that nothing grew, so he was able to get it pretty cheaply. And for or Florida, it was swampland. So he was able to just kind of clear out all the things and then just kind of build the park on top of it. And when you're there, and I've seen maps, I'm no expert in Disney World, but it's just it's huge. It's miles and miles long, and when they separate those two parks, Epcot and then Magic Kingdom, it's very educational, and that's just me seeing from outside because they have a lot of these rides and just kind of these experiences, even like a zoo, and I'm like, wow, like I would love to see that one day. It's not really a theme park; it's more of like an experience.
Yeah, no, cool. I'd love to go to Disney World as well in Florida. But I'll take any Disney
Yeah,
anytime. Cause I mean Disney is really close to me. The closest one is obviously in Paris. So I'd go anywhere.
I
Anywhere where there's a park.
I hear great things about the Shanghai Disney. It's just there were like they have the best just animatronics and just kind of the best what's like kind of like just the rides. I think what's the one I'm thinking about? Their Haunted Mansion ride is huge and it has more story to it, which I've heard and I've seen a couple videos. I'm like I should kind of save this just in case if I ever go on it and actually can fully experience it.
Yeah, for real. For sure. That'd be so good. I'd love to go to like Tokyo Disney or whatever. That'd be awesome. Um well awesome. I feel like we've covered a lot.
Yes.
Um, what? Yeah. One last thing I like to say. I know you're the guest, and I've talked a lot about
I've
this.
I've enjoyed it. We've both got a nice little playback.
Mm. Um. Yeah, I remember reading for my dissertation. Actually, I wrote about CGI in Disney movies in Wreck-It Ralph and Big Hero 6, and I remember reading one book, and it was to do with hyperreality, right?
Mhm.
And it was talking about there's just this line that like stuck out to me, and it was talking about Disneyland and about how the Disney parks, you go in and you can have this like cynical view of like everything here is fake, right? Which
Mhm.
is true.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like so is like New York or like Vegas, right? They're no more real than Disneyland is if you think about it like that. Like everything is just built up, and yeah, I think especially like Las Vegas, right? Like it's just this place that's supposed to be like this utopia and everybody's happy in this, casino town.
Everyone
And
wins.
it's like like everything about that is just as much fake and not real as Disney is, I think. So I don't think that you need to be cynical about Disneyland because let's be real, every city has those elements of stuff that there's this like inauthenticity about these built up places, I think sometimes.
Yeah.
I can't really put my finger on like what that is necessarily put into words. But like when I read that, it's like it resonated with me. I'm like, I know what this guy's talking about. It makes sense. And I thought that was interesting. And that's it. That's all I gotta say on that. A little ramble.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. It's like kind of they're not really upfront with what's going on behind the scenes or anything like that.
Yes.
And what I've seen when I'm at Disneyland, I'm like they're trying their best for us. So
hmm
that's a nice part of it.
Yeah, I mean, like Hollywood has got like a huge problem at the moment with like homelessness and stuff,
Yeah.
and these issues that are like swept under the rug under this facade of like this is an awesome place to come and be famous. It's like no,
Mm,
maybe not.
the dream is there, but it's not really a reality for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. So I thought that was interesting. Just a little random thing that I read one time was like, yo, this makes sense.
I thought you were
But
going to
yeah,
mention the hidden Mickeys because I'm
I
like,
wasn't gonna mention that.
oh,
I don't know what that is. Can
oh,
you explain what that means?
yes, hidden Mickeys, because in Wreck-It Ralph, they kinda have a bunch of them. Um, Funny thing, when you just walk around the park, you notice, like, these, like, 3 circles. Like, "Oh, that looks like a Mickey." That is intent again, the backstory is that is just a random kinda design, but most designers wanna add Mickey to everything that they do. So, if you walk around, you're like, "Oh, those are 3 circles together. Oh, it's Mickey." So, it's a hidden Mickey.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's some really small ones and some that you have to like kind of squint or move your head around and be like, oh, there it is.
Amazing. We love the hidden Mickeys. We gotta find them all. Oh, well, awesome, Jesse. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, is there anything you'd like to plug? Any social media or
Um,
so on?
I have a podcast. We have a Twitter and an Instagram called the Off Color Gems. We review every episode of Steaming Universe and Steam Future. And yeah, it's with my niece, and we're just having a fun time, just kind of reliving watching that show again and again.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah, go check that out. Off Color Gems podcast. Awesome. Oh, thank you. It's been a joy and a pleasure.
Well, thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much for coming. Oh, of course. I'm glad we finally got to do this after like months. So that was Jesse. I really enjoyed our conversation, and to be honest, I like talking about Disneyland every chance I get. My name is Karis. You can follow Journey into Fandom on Twitter at J_into_fandom, and I am at Carison Ford on Twitter. That's CARYSSONFORD. Please also join the official Discord for my podcast, Retrospective and Journey into Fandom. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/Into the Karisverse. Thank you for listening. Bye.